More news coming in. Trump's big crackdown on US aid. 2,000 people have been sacked. The president has fired employees of the USAID. Trump to eliminate 1,600 USAID jobs in the US. Trump places thousands of USAID staff on leave. The Trump administration to eliminate these jobs in the US. The administration says in notices that is firing 2,000 workers and placing thousands of others on leave is what the AP has reported now. Jaishankar Mattu getting in more details on that point, on that big story. Shashank, this was but inevitable given the kind of noise that was made around USAID and the president's, sheer dislike for the organization and for the kind of work that it had done, that Trump had very, very vocally, criticized, isn't it? We'll connect with Jaishankar Mattu in a moment from now, but this is a big crackdown on US aid. Donald Trump has spoken about the fact that the organization did work which was to harm, in fact, the interest of the people of America, including providing funds to countries like India, Bangladesh and Nepal. Now 2,000 employees of USAID are getting fired by Donald Trump. Jaishankar Mattu is back with us. Shashank, this was but expected given the president's disdain for the organization.
No, you're absolutely right. Look, USAID by many accounts is the world's largest humanitarian aid agency, dispensed around $44 billion in humanitarian aid last year. But the Trump administration has been very clear about its dislike for the agency and what it represents. It believes that countries around the world are taking advantage of America. America gives and gives and gives, but gets very little back in return. They would much rather invest that foreign aid in the United States into domestic priorities and not engage as much internationally. There have been serious concerns about US aid, what its activities have been in foreign countries, as has been seen in the recent controversy in India around voter turnout funding. But regardless of that, many analysts have also pointed out that the decimation of USAID also opens up a door for China to go into very strategic and sensitive parts of the world and fill up the gap that America is leaving behind and meeting the needs of a lot of developing nations that need USAID funding. So while America has been very, very clear that it wants to turn more inward, deploy more of that money domestically, it may also turn out to be something that is damaging for its foreign policy long term. So at this point in time, we'll have to see how the story develops.
That's right. Shashank getting in those details as far as that big development is concerned. Trump placing thousands of USAID staff on leave and firing many of them. We have more news coming in as far as the USAID is concerned. Essentially, Finance Ministry has said no US voter turnout funds amid raging political controversy over USAID's alleged role in influencing Indian elections. The latest annual report of the Finance Ministry has said the agency funded 7 projects worth $750 million in 2023-2024. During the year, no funding was made for enhancing voter turnout, but to projects related to agriculture and food security program, water, sanitation and hygiene, renewable energy, disaster management and health. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar on Saturday said the information put out by the Trump administration is concerning and that the government is looking into it. I'm going back to Shashank for more on that. Shashank, what does this technically mean? That the US aid funding was done to government organizations, to government initiatives in 2023-2024. And in that sense, this political dispensation, this government has got some answering to do, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. In many cases, this is what has been, these are the questions that have been raised from the very beginning about this USAID controversy when it came up, which is that, look, USAID has provided around $3 billion in funding to governments across political dispensations for the last 25 years. And it's also very, very clear that India and the Indian government is very careful about allowing foreign organizations to come into India and fund activities that are related to India's democratic process. It's very, very sensitive about those sorts of investments in Indian politics. It doesn't want any political interference. And so the question had always stuck around as to how, as Donald Trump alleged, $21 million was being used for voter turnout in India, when India's government is itself very vigilant about something like this, and that USAID has been an established partner for ministries across the board. Regardless, the idea was that various ministries would launch a review, look at their partnerships with USAID, and see where something has, like said, come up. Because if the president of the United States is making an accusation, you had better take it seriously. So everyone has looked into their respective records. Now this is coming out from the finance ministry that there is no record of anything like voter turnout being funded by the United States government. We're also likely to see other ministries carry out reviews and find out whether there was in fact any exposure or any funding for any project that might resemble something like this. But there have already been questions being raised about whether Donald Trump was in fact mistaken, whether the money was in fact sent to Bangladesh and not to India. So these are open questions at this point in time, but regardless, the government is taking it seriously. It is saying that the USAID was allowed here in good faith. They have funded projects in good faith, but if they're engaged in bad faith activities, we're going to be launching a review to see what happens. But so far, as the finance ministry report indicates, that there is no indication just yet that this $21 million was actually given for voter turnout. But other ministries are launching their reviews as well, and we should have more clarity on that moving forward.
All right, this was not for voter turnout last year, but for other things like spending on hygiene, spending on other initiatives of the government like water, for example, and development. I'm going to leave it at that for the moment. Jaishankar, as that story, as those revelations continue to play out domestically back home here in the country between the BJP and the Congress.